Hi, I'm Erika. I'm going to be working with you this year.
David, nice to meet you.
Hi, so tell me a little bit about yourself and why you volunteered for this program.
I've been teaching for some time now, mainly in a traditional type classroom. For about 15 years. I do incorporate some blended learning. I use a learning management system when I can to deliver some instruction, some homework, and things of that nature. And I want to try to incorporate some of this problem-based or more project-based learning. And I heard this has a lot to do with that. So I want to try it out.
What subject are you
working in? Social studies, government economics.
Government economics. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we're talking about the 11th graders, 12th graders?
Generally.
Okay. Did you already have any ideas? I mean, you're familiar, you've been through the training, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're familiar with the systems that are already in place on the eStudio through Engage to Learn?
Well, we went through the training, but you know how that is. So seeing it a couple times, working with it at a superficial level is different than really using it. And so I'm kind of expecting a little bit of a struggle as we get started.
Well, have you set any initial goals for like a first project?
Well, when they took us through the training, they showed us eStudio and how to create rubrics that are attached to the standards, which then get attached to the assignments that you're doing, right, or the challenge brief. And from there, I guess you have to create workshops so that the kids go through the explore phase. And so seeing how time-intensive that was, I was thinking a goal would be maybe let's do one of those.
One workshop?
Well, one challenge brief that has multiple workshops built into it over the next maybe 3 weeks. So give me 3 weeks to put together the whole thing. And maybe next week, maybe break that into smaller goals. And so by next week, I'll have the challenge brief and the rubric designed.
So what exactly are you going to be doing on the topics?
It's still open, depending which class we do. Let's see, it's the beginning of the year, so we're still talking about scarcity, some of the beginning concepts, maybe trade, free trade. So we could maybe do a project about why or maybe not even prejudge it. Is free trade good for a country?
Oh, I like that.
Right? That could be like the big question. And then we can look at different issues like child labor, sweatshops, whether or not trade with foreign countries hurts domestic economies, who might favor free trade in America versus who might be against it.
So when you envision this, like I'm trying to figure out what you actually have to work with. So do you have computers? Or yes, you do, your high school. So everybody has a laptop.
Yeah.
Then are you looking at this as in like a station rotation where they get to look at different perspectives and everything? How are you planning that?
Well, there's 2 or 3 different points of view when it comes to this topic. And so I could create different groups and maybe give them different resources and then have them analyze it from that particular point of view. So for instance, maybe one group works in a factory here in America producing something that can be produced maybe in China, right? And then let's see how they view free trade through that lens, right? And then maybe another group maybe it's a small family or a group of families, right? Each person from a family, and they have to purchase a lot of products each week, maybe from Walmart or other place. And how do they view free trade? How do they benefit? The effects might be more subtle, right? And then maybe someone overseas. How do they view free trade with America? So maybe have 3 different points of view, provide some articles for each one, and then let them come up with a conclusion about is free trade good in general.
Now, I like this. You kind of thought it through so that they have the different perspectives. Are they going to be like using one class period? Are they going to have a couple of days? Or are you like pressed for time? Do you maybe have to get to a certain point by a certain date?
Well, usually I cover free trade in 3 class lessons. I have to get through absolute advantage, comparative advantage, and I usually will cover the benefits of trade, right? With a story from David Ricardo that I really enjoy. So I want to make sure those resources are built into the resources they see. And so I'm thinking maybe at most 4 days.
At most 4 days.
Yeah.
And would that be actually stretching it longer than usual?
Yeah, probably. But I don't mind, because I don't really mind too much if they can't remember all the details about absolute advantage or comparative advantage. I really want them to remember that for the most part, while free trade doesn't help everybody, it does help more people than it hurts.
So,
So I mean, that's kind of the big theme. It's like, what do I want to get? What do I want them to walk away with? And that's sort of the theme. And it might take a few days to really convince them of that.
okay, that makes sense. Now, in terms of actually the mechanics of this, you need to gather resources, you need to have your room set up in whichever way that you want. You need to have your rubric so that you know what it is the end result will be for the students and also to guide them. So we have all these things. So what are you willing to work on between now and the next time we meet, or now and the time that you implement, depending on how quickly you think you can get there, or if you'd like to meet before you implement?
So what do you think I need to have ready by next week, you think?
Well, if you're going to do it next week.
Oh, so I need to have the
No,
workshops.
I'm asking.
Well, I mean, by the end of the 3 weeks, I'd like to have this
It ready to go.
or it done. Either one. Probably have it
Okay.
done. So I was thinking by next week, I'll have the workshops ready. So I'll come up with the different 20-minute lessons that cover the different topics.
Okay.
Maybe find the articles or the resources,
Right.
The videos that I want them to witness or watch or read. Have some big questions to guide their thinking. I need some assessments too, probably, right? Some formative assessments to see if they're
I would
getting
think
it.
so. And those could actually be built in to your rubric as resources if you wanted, or
Yeah.
it could be an extension, like a project or a product of some sort.
Maybe like a self-assessment almost.
A self-assessment could work.
Just to see. What would I haven't yet thought about the end product. Should it be an essay that they write?
Well, it could be anything that you would want it to be. It could be, you have more of the ideas because you teach economics. I do not.
Well, if they're coming from 3 different perspectives, maybe it could be an op-ed to the local newspaper.
So it could be that.
And they're trying to persuade their people towards their particular view.
And I'm thinking time frame, because I was thinking you could also have them debate from their particular point of view.
That's true too, in the classroom.
In the classroom, and but that does take class time.
Yeah.
Or they could do it off time. They could videotape it and bring it in and show it during class.
Okay.
That way they can edit it and put in the parts that they want.
Okay. And that's what I'll be willing to do is get all that finalized so that I can implement it maybe the following week. So but by next week, I'll try to have everything created so I can implement the following week, and then we can come back and discuss it.
You're right. And
After
what
the
we
third
want
week.
to have.
Right.
So that'll be your evidence of planning, and then we'll see what we need the kids to produce.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Long.